continue. We are on Chapter 10 of Wishful Thinking. This is the title of it is One Track Mind. You invite Anna inside, and she takes a seat on the couch, eyes full of worry, and you sit beside her. Oh, see, we start with Eric's love interest right here, all like right off the bat. You're starting to scare me, Anna. What's going on? And Anna's thinking, just tell her, Anna. She'll help you. And then she says, I don't think Charlie is who he says he is. And Sarah says, well, you're going to have to give me a little more than that. And Anna says, he started going to donor meetings that he adamantly wouldn't let me attend. So I dug a little deeper into his donations, and some of them are actually untraceable. Sarah says, really? His transparency is a huge part of his platform. And Anna says, well, yep. I looked at his outgoing contributions too, and there were lots of personal checks for local farms. And Sarah says, well, that's good, isn't it? Anna says, if it's philanthropic, why isn't he telling anyone about it? Why is it buried in the back of his budget? What's worse are the incoming funds. One in particular is always the same amount, from Oasis Unlimited. But I can't connect them to any product or service, yet somehow they're donating big money every month. And Sarah says, well, how could they possibly be making profits with zero visibility? And Anna is looking shocked, and she says, the website is under construction. No one answers the phone. The address is registered with the state. A P.O. box. And Sarah says, sounds like you dug a lot deeper. Not a little deeper. And Anna says, but I need your help to get to the bottom of this. You've got much more experience with this kind of stuff than I do. And so Sarah says, tell me, do you have any proof? And Anna's, again, she looks shocked, and she says, I'm not even sure he's doing anything illegal yet. I mean, he's disclosed these donations. He acts really open about it. There's nothing to prove. Sarah says, well, your gut is telling you not to trust him, but you're also afraid you might be crazy, right? And Anna says, well, that's it exactly. These doubts have been lingering in my mind, but I'm almost afraid to prove them. And Sarah says, well, are you afraid to ask him? And Anna says, well, I guess I am. I did make a copy of his itemized donations the past few months. It's not much, but it's something. And so she reaches into her purse and unfolds several sheets of paper, passing them to you with shaky hands. And Sarah says, tell me, what do you know about the meetings? Anna says, basically nothing. I've even tried to follow him once, but I lost him. And so Sarah says, Anna, are you serious? That's next level spy stuff. And so Anna smiles and says, I appreciate that. It did feel pretty intense. He turned off onto a country road, though, and I knew he noticed me following him. I had to give up. And Sarah says, well, do you know how many people attend these meetings? And Anna says, well, if it was at a fancy restaurant like it usually is, finding out the party size would be easy. But driving down that old country road, I don't even think there are any venues out there. And so Sarah says, well, tell me, how much are these donations? And Anna says, well, we're making $50,000 a month from this one donation. And Sarah says, that buys an awful lot of posters and buttons. Anna looks a little sad, and she says, I really doubt our campaign is seeing any of that money. We already have more than we could spend. Sarah says, well, where do you think the money is going, if not the campaign? Anna says, I don't know. I don't want to believe that he'd pocket it, but maybe I don't know him like I thought I did. And then she's thinking, if this gets out, he could lose the election, and I'd definitely lose my job. And then she says, that's not all. Both Barbara Ebert and Trey Sheldon quietly pulled their support earlier in the week. And Sarah says, well, that's interesting. I'm going to need a little more than this to bring to Alec, but it's a start. If there's something here, I'll find it. And Anna's like, whew. Okay, now that this is off my chest, I feel so much better. Sarah says, well, even if it is like 2 in the morning, I'm still glad you came to me. And Anna says, "Are you kidding? You were the first person I thought of. I trust you." And Sarah says, "Good, because just for Eric, we'll say, I care about you." And Anna says, "Yeah, I didn't just come to you because you're the smartest reporter I know." And Sarah says, "I'm also the cutest." Anna says, Anna's thinking, "Or maybe I trust you so much because I'm falling for you." And you lean in and you wrap your arms around Anna, giving her a firm hug, and she sighs and rests her head against yours. And Sarah says, "We'll get through this together, okay?" And Anna says, "I know we will. I need to just shake it off and get a full night's sleep. I'll look at this with fresh eyes in the morning." "Okay, I'm going to let you get back to sleep, but I'll be in touch soon." And you lead Anna to the door and finally make your way to your bedroom for some serious rest, putting thoughts of Carmichael out of your head for now. And so Carrie was saying in the chat, "We all know what surrender will be, and I can't wait. I'm with you." I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I'm with you. Let's see. The next morning, you step into your dressing room with your shoulders squared and your head high, ready for anything. Eric says yay to be taken to Anna scene. Or to me telling Anna that I care about her. And someone taps lightly at your door and it pops open without waiting for a response. And it's Alec, your boss, and he's grinning. Hot in Town 57, "You haven't read this yet? Well, we are 10 chapters in." The first 2 streams are available on my YouTube channel, which is the same screen name that I use here, so MartianKat. And the last stream, where we got up to through chapter 9, will be up shortly. I just haven't posted it yet. So, but we are a little ways in. Welcome to the channel. Drolly, what's up? Hello, hello. Alex says, "Sarah, just the person I was hoping to see. How's my star reporter doing? Can I get you a coffee?" And Sarah says, What? Alec, did you hit your head or something?" And he says, "I don't think so. Why do you ask?" And she says, "Well, no reason. Glad you're doing well and that it's not the result of head trauma." And Alex says, "Well, everyone's great then. I've got some exciting news for you. Charlie Carmichael's coming by the set tomorrow for a taped exclusive. Go wild, girl!" And Sarah's like shocked and her mouth drops and she's like speechless, says nothing. And Alec is just grinning at her. He's like, "Well, a little wilder than that." And Sarah says, "Well, that's awesome news. I can't wait. I'll prep questions right now." And she's thinking, what do I ask? It has to be incisive but not inflammatory, clear but not obvious. And then Alex says, yeah, or yep, go prep. Let me know if anything comes up in the meantime. You got this, right, killer? And Sarah says, "Oh yeah, 100%. Alex says, "That's what I like to hear." And he's thinking in his mind, and he's kind of grimacing at her. "Because I just got rid of my star reporter, and I need a new one pronto. Be able to step up or else. Or better be able to step up or else." And you swallow as you watch Alec walk away. Sarah's thinking, I guess I should do some research to prep for this interview. You consider what Anna mentioned the other night about Barbara and Trey, pulling their support and dig in your wallet for their cards. I'm thinking we probably should call Barbara. And the phone's ringing, and Barbara picks up. She goes, "Hello? I'm in the middle of something critically important, so this better be serious." And Sarah says, "Is everything okay?" "Well, I'm getting a manicure, and now it's possible I've smeared. Who is this?" And Sarah says, "Well, it's Sarah Gibson, Barbara. We met at Charlie's campaign ball, and you mentioned repaying me for some help with your yacht." And Barbara says, "What yacht?" "Oh, that old thing. Yes, of course. How can I help you?" And so Sarah says, "Well, I'm actually doing some research on Charlie, and I'm not liking everything I find. Maybe you didn't either?" And there's a pause on the line. Obviously, we're onto something, right? And So Barbara says, I'm not sure what you're implying. So Sarah says, lots of money changing hands. A shell company called Oasis Limited? Off the record. Is any of this ringing a bell for you? Barbara says, off the record? And Sarah says, well, I swear on my ethics of journalism textbook. There's another long pause. And Barbara says, okay, don't tell anyone I told you this, but if you want to learn more about Oasis, check out Oak Hills. They've spent a lot of money out there. And so Sarah says, Oak Hills? I've never even heard of it. And Barbara says, I used to have a vacation home there. Lakefront property. Now, the value is through the floor. Look into it. And Sarah says, well, thanks, Barbara. Hope Alan's feeling better, by the way. Oh, aren't you sweet to remember? I'll send him your best. Bye-bye now. June and Tony walk into your dressing room, interrupting your thoughts. June says, hey, Sarah! Congrats on the Carmichael exclusive. You're killing this promotion already. Tony's like, well, yeah, don't freak out, but we actually got you something to say good luck. And Sarah says, are you kidding? I'm fully freaking out! Tony says, oh, it was nothing. We hit the French boutique downtown, and this just screamed Sarah. Not literally, but you know. And June says, well, we wanted to get you something, you know, fearless and fierce and diva, yet also delicate. And Tony says, you're a complex woman to shop for, Sarah Gibson. And the tutorial says, unlock this outfit in your closet to impress your colleagues and earn a reporter point. Ooh, that's cute. I like that. So it's a purple blouse, looks like maybe silk, with a bow at the top. There's detailing down the sleeves and at the shoulders. And looks like a lace print kind of black skirt with a black belt and a silver buckle. It's really cute. So yes, we will buy it. Elegance in satin and lace. And you run your hands over the soft satin blouse and let out a low whistle. And Sarah says, I love it, and my curves are, in a word, popping! Thanks you guys so much. Jude says, well, you've earned it, no matter what anyone else says. Tony says, exactly. And maybe seeing you look a little more, Ellen-esque will quiet down all the talk around the studio. And you make your way into the studio with June and Tony, pressing them for more information. Let's see, what's it? And Sarah says, well, what's everyone been saying? Tony says, well, you know how it is when someone suddenly leaves and a pretty inexperienced person magically gets the job. And Sarah says, hey, I worked for this. It wasn't magic. And she's thinking in her head, it was superpowers. And Jude says, well, they're just surprised, that's all. It all happened so fast. Sarah looks pretty upset. She's like, so where did they get the idea that I might not deserve it? Hey, KT. And June says, I'm pretty sure Ellen started a handful of rumors before she left. Happy birthday, KT. Get some hap in the chat for that. Happy birthday, KT. One of our OG Martians. How are you doing tonight? What did you get into for your birthday? And Sarah says, well, what did she say? Tony says, oh, you know the usual stuff, that you're a liar who tried to get her fired intentionally. And Jude says, and with a few expletives thrown in here and there. And Sarah says, seriously? That's typical. Haters are gonna hate. Frankly, it's a compliment. There used to be a time when she wouldn't even look up from her phone if I spoke. Anyway, I hope she gets over it soon. And June smiles and says, wow, Sarah, you've outconfidenced Ellen? How? Tony says, well, you don't really care that her story spread through the whole building? And you frown and step closer to your news desk, noticing that the memo announcing your promotion is on it and covered in red ink. Every instance of Sarah Gibson is scratched out and replaced with words like snake or rat, and you suddenly feel cold all over. And Sarah says, oh my god, look guys, I can't believe this, and on my first day. Meanwhile, Aubrey approaches from the other side of the studio, appreciating your new ensemble with a nod. And Aubrey says, wow, Sarah, you are just... What I mean to say is, congratulations on the promotion. And Sarah says, well, thanks, Aubrey. It's seriously a dream come true. And then her face is kind of in a frown, and she doesn't look like she really believes what she's saying. And Aubrey is frowning too, and he says, I thought it was too, but it doesn't look like it right now. What's going on? And you pass him the altered memo, and Aubrey's brow sets. And he turns away from you, clapping his hands and raising them for everyone's attention. Is streaming No Straight Roads and tomorrow you're going bowling with friends. Very nice. Sounds like a very fun and relaxing birthday to me. So, for all of the Choices players here, in the Choices Insider, a poll was put out asking, what do you usually spend your diamonds on? And they had 4 options. It was outfits, romance scenes, relationship building, or clues. I came up with my rankings for that, but I'm kind of curious what yours are. What do you spend your diamonds on the most? You used it for everything. I know. Me too. But I said outfits. No, excuse me. Romance scenes, outfits, clues, and then relationship building. Mostly because I was looking at the relationship building from like MC to the side characters. There was someone on Twitter when I put the question out there that said that they like to buy the pets. And I know that there's actually a few people who love buying the pets too. I don't generally buy the pets. It just depends on, if they're adding to the story or if I really like them. Like, I bought the cat in Wishful Thinking because cats. I sometimes skip when it's to get friends together. I think Endless Summer and High School Story had a few of those. Yeah, I did that in Desire and Decorum. It was just like, you know what? I love you. You're my best friend, but no. This is about me. This is me time. I'm trying to get my relationship up, But I did do some of them. I know, I'm horribly stingy. So Aubrey looks a little determined and he says, everyone focus up. I'd like to take a moment to speak with the studio in regards to the recent changes on the reporting team. Ellen Thompson's suspension was not because of Sarah Gibson, regardless of what you may heard. It was Miss Thompson's egregious behavior in her most recent interview that made up Mr. Burdock's mind to suspend her. And Aubrey waves the defaced memo in the air. And he says, I see someone in the studio considers Ms. Gibson a rat and a snake. Well, I'll tell you what I consider her. She's a damn fine reporter, and that's why she was awarded this promotion. If you got an insult for her, I suggest you swallow it. Now, let's all get back to work, and with a little less speculating about our coworkers and a little more focus on ourselves. And June and Tony say goodbye, heading back to their stations, and the studio begrudgingly returns to work. And you smile up at Aubrey gratefully. And Sarah smiles and says, thanks, Aubrey, for believing in me. And Aubrey smiles and says, from day one, Rockstar, never questioned it. And Sarah says, I'm lucky I've got some real friends at this office to defend me when I need it. And he says, well, hey now, that was no buddy bias. I meant every word I said. Alec mentioned that you've got a taped special with Carmichael tomorrow. Are you stoked? And Sarah says, well, to be honest, I'm a little nervous about it. I hope my questions aren't too hard to answer. And Aubrey smiles and says, oh, Carmichael must love your questions. Alec told me he asked for you specifically. And Sarah says, well, I guess we'll see. Maybe it's just first date jitters. And she's thinking, I doubt he's going to get the same warm fuzzies he had the last time, though. And Aubrey says, I don't want to hear that Northbridge's new golden girl has anything as pedestrian as jitters. Want to go shake 'em off? There's a little carnival on the outskirts of town, and nothing gets me out of my head like a Ferris wheel. And Sarah says, really? Right now? And Aubrey says, good point. Nothing says professional quite like not ditching your first date to go to the fair. How about this afternoon? It would be kind of nice to celebrate my promotion with something lighthearted. And Aubrey is thinking in his head, I can't imagine my heart being any lighter than it feels when I'm with you. And so the tutorial says, I know, warm fuzzies, right? Jingo's like, aww. It says, visit the carnival with Aubrey to play some games and get the chance to take your relationship to the next level. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to give Aubrey a chance. I'm gonna do it. I have to. Poor Aubrey has been like third in the relationship rankings, and I feel bad. I feel like I'm not giving him equal time. You know. So, we're gonna be taking some of these scenes today. Aubrey says, nice, I'll swing by your dressing room around 5 to pick you up. And it's easier to get through your first day now that you have plans for later, and after work, the two of you whisk away for an afternoon at the fair. Sorry, he's not Jaime. Hey, shoe chick. Yes, Aubrey is no Jaime. Isn't he the mayor of Gotham? Oh, Jaime supremacy. I know. Yeah, this is. I'm all over him. I love me some Jaime. He's awesome. I love him so much. Now we're at the fair. We're, and looks like there's a water guns booth and darts. It says you arrive at the sunny, bustling carnival. The laughter of children and the smell of fresh food is filling the air. There's the Ferris wheel and the merry-go-round. It looks like a little whirly gig over there. And Sarah says, my spirits just lifted so high. I think I might be having an out-of-body experience. Aubrey is okay. He's just not Jaime. I know. Yeah. I just feel like I haven't been being very fair to Aubrey, so it's like, okay, I gotta spend some diamonds on Aubrey. I have to do it, just to see what's up. And Aubrey says, well, right? I feel like I'm 5 years old again, going to my very first fair. And you grin, nodding at the snack vendor in your path and walking closer to him. And Sarah says, or 25 years old, getting cotton candy for lunch. And Aubrey says, hey, let me cover this for you. It's your special day. And Aubrey hands over a few dollars, and you take your cotton candy with a bright smile. It's a picture of cotton candy on a striped cone, and it says, sugar fluff. So thanks, Aubrey. Aubrey says, well, you deserve it. After all the time you put in as a writer and reporter, don't let anybody tell you different. And you and Aubrey stroll away from the snack stand. And Sarah says, well, I guess I have come a long way from my first publication. My live journal. Oh, live journal? Oh my goodness. I used to have a live journal. I still have a live journal. I never deleted it, but I haven't written on it forever. Oh my goodness. Talk about dating myself. Oh jeez. I love live journal though. Yes. And Aubrey says, what? You didn't put that front and center on your resume? You've got to own it. Come on, tell me your username. Sarah says, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. And Aubrey laughs, and he's like, that bad, huh? Now I have to know. And Sarah says, tragic kisses, XOXO. If somebody has not yet made that live journal, you need to. I wonder if it's one of them, because that would just be just way too dang much. Oh my god, I would just die. Okay, nope. Nobody has that yet, so it's up for grabs if you're a live journal fan. Tragic kisses, XOXO. Oh, I love it. And Aubrey says, I solemnly swear that I will not look that up as soon as I get home. And Sarah says, well, search at your own risk. What about you? What was your first step toward the television industry? And Aubrey says, well, I'll tell you, but you have to promise you won't laugh. And Sarah says, well, now I'm definitely going to laugh. Anytime somebody says, well, don't laugh, I'm ready to bust up. And Aubrey says, I was an actor on a children's show. Really? And Sarah says, that's not so bad. What'd you do? Read stories? Teach them fun facts? And Aubrey says, I was Calvin the Crocodile in a big foam suit that weighed like 50 pounds. And Sarah says, you were on Wiggle Tickle Pond? I just Wiggle Tickle Pond. I just like to say the name. It's just funny. And Aubrey like smiles and he says, oh, you're familiar with my work. Even better. And Sarah says, so familiar. I used to watch the first generation when I was a kid, and then I babysat kids who loved the reboot. And Sarah says, well, now, let's see. Now, you have to... you have to show me your Calvin. And Aubrey says, it's been 7 years, but I'll give it my best shot. Here we go. And Aubrey shakes out his shoulders, and he clears his throat. And when he speaks, it's in a goofy, cartoonish voice with a little wiggle in his hips. Hi, kids. I'm here today to talk about cleaning your chompers and getting snappy with those fruits and vegetables. It's Sarah says, kid, you get internal bleeding from holding in laughter? I'm seriously concerned for my health. Aubrey says, it was my most challenging role. Very hard to get into the headspace of a crocodile, but I think I did it. And Sarah says, oh yeah, I barely recognized you for a moment. You became Calvin. And Sarah says, gosh, I'd forgotten all about Wiggle Tickle Pond. There was Calvin the Crocodile and Ellie Elephant and that pink bear. What was her name? It's going to kill me. Bianca Bear, Aubrey answers. And Sarah says, she was adorable. I wanted a Bianca Bear so bad when I was a little kid. And Aubrey smiles and he says, well, that's because she was the best one. She played the guitar. And Sarah says, yeah, but now I'm an adult and I don't really care about... And Aubrey follows your gaze to a game of chance stocked with stuffed animals. And Sarah is looking shocked. Her mouth just drops. And she says, wait, is that? It's a Bianca Bear! It's a pink bear with purple, like lavenderish eyes. And little purple feet at the bottom. It's like so cute. It's super cute. And it's a Bianca Bear. And she says, I can't believe it! And the carnival worker with lots of tattoos, he's looking like, step right up, young man. You look like you've got a good arm. And the pretty girl deserves a gift, doesn't she? And Aubrey says, well, I can't argue with that logic. You want her, Ms. Pretty Girl? I was wondering why you were so eerily silent when I took this scene, Eric. I was like, wow, you're being awfully polite today. And Sarah says, definitely, between your muscles and that pyramid of milk bottles, my money is on you every time. And the carnival worker says, that's sweet, here you go. And Aubrey hands over some tickets for a baseball, sizes up the target, lobs it as hard as he can, and the bottles barely shake. And the carnival worker says, "Aw, too bad, soldier." And in his mind, he's thinking, "Yeah, too bad the left milk bottle is as rigged up as your mother." Oh! Luckily, he didn't say that out loud. And Sarah looks very determined. She says, "Let me give it a try." It was the left milk bottle, right? And the carnival worker says, "Oh, the pretty girl has a good arm too, huh? Be my guest." Let's see. Now, he said that the left one is the rigged one, so that's the one that we should aim for, right? That's the one to drop it. Because I want the bear. Let's see. The left one is rigged. We'll hit the left. Oh, no! I hit the left one. I shouldn't have hit the right. Oh, well. You throw the ball as hard as you can, but the rigged bottle holds the pyramid tight. And carnival worker says, "Good try. Maybe next time, huh?" And Sarah says, "I doubt it, considering that damn game is rigged." And the carnival worker's like, "Whoa, whoa, keep your voice down." And the man looks around to make sure no one heard, and then furtively takes a Bianca bear and holds it out. He says, "I'll tell you what, since you tried so hard, here you go. Now scram, loudmouth." You take the plush Bianca bear and give her a squeeze, and then pass her to Aubrey. And Sarah says, "Here, for you. Thanks for giving me the best day ever." And Aubrey is like, "I can't take this. She's yours. You won her fair and square." Sarah says, "Counterpoint. We wouldn't even be here if you hadn't suggested it." And so Aubrey says, "Well, double counterpoint. I wouldn't have suggested it if you hadn't gotten promoted." Sarah says, "Well, clearly we're going to have to come to some sort of custody agreement. This is tearing us apart. I think, you know what? I'm going to keep it. Okay, champ, I'll take her. I love her too much anyway." And Aubrey says, "Well, just think of me when you cuddle her." And Sarah says, "Aubrey, you are Calvin the crocodile. I won't be able to think of anyone but you." And Aubrey says, "Perfect." You continue to stroll the fair until you reach the end of the aisle. And Aubrey says, "I can't think of a better way to cap off a carnival than with the Ferris wheel ride. Thoughts?" Sarah says, "Only vivid fantasies of being on a Ferris wheel. Let's go!" And you climb onto the Ferris wheel together and feel your heartbeat speed up as the car lifts into the air, swaying slightly, and it goes higher and higher. And soon, you're at the top of the Ferris wheel. The breeze playing in your hair on the countryside of Northridge is sprawled below. And Sarah says, "You know what, Aubrey?" The two options are, "This is a great makeout spot," or "Let's quit our jobs and stay here." We'll say, "This is a great makeout spot," and Aubrey says, "Oh, you think so?" And Sarah says, "Well, oh yeah, we're up high and the world is at our feet, the wind in our hair." And Aubrey says, "Just another day besides Sarah Gibson as far as I'm concerned." And Sarah says, "You're working hard for that first kiss." And Aubrey says, "Since the moment we met." With a sly little smile, you lean closer, and Aubrey bends to kiss you, and your lips brush together, softly and open, letting your tongues skim against each other. And his arms circle around you, and pull you tight against his chest, and you can feel his heart pounding beneath your hand. And Sarah says, "Aubrey?" And Aubrey says, "I know. We're going to get kicked out of so many places together." And Sarah says, "We've got to start thinking of the kids." And Aubrey says, "Ours or the ones down there?" And Sarah's looking shocked like, "What?" And Aubrey says, "I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding." Oh, well, she heard that. And in his mind he says, "But we would make some damn cute babies." And the cart groans as it descends on the revolving Ferris wheel, and you step from the ride together. As you head back toward Aubrey's car, he gives you a little nudge with his shoulder. And he said, "Congratulations again. Like I've said a million times before, you're kind of amazing." And Sarah says, "Well, thanks, Aubrey. I feel the same way about you." That was funny. As Carmichael's taped interview looms closer and closer, you pace and shuffle through your notes. And Sarah's thinking, I hope we get some good leads from all this and that I don't get fired. And Charlie breezes through the studio with Anna in tow, waving amiably as Maggie leads him to makeup. Anna makes a beeline for you. And Anna's like, Sarah, you look so different! Très chic. And Sarah's, kind of frowns a little bit. She goes, thanks. I just wish I felt as powerful on the inside as I look on the outside. And Anna says, do you have some interview jitters? And Sarah says, well, I'm as ready as I'll ever be. And you lower your voice. And Sarah says, did you know about this when you came over the other night? And Anna says, well, I'm as surprised as you are, knowing what you know now, though. What's the plan? Sarah says, I have to be careful I could lose my job. Or do what's right, no matter what. We're going to do what's right, no matter what. And I mean, that's the whole reason I got this job, right? I can't turn away a story that fell into my lap. And Sarah smiles. She says, damn straight. I know exactly what you mean. Anna says, at first I felt so unsure, but I'm making myself let that go. I'm embracing the positives. And Sarah says, care to share those with me in case we both lose our jobs? Anna actually laughs a little. And Anna says, I wanted to help this community. Now, by making sure Charlie is their advocate, I am. And Sarah says, you're so right. This might close some doors for us, but it may also open new doors. Just then, Charlie returns from makeup, smiling brightly and heading toward the set. Charlie says, well, hello again, Sarah. It's great to see you again. Your wardrobe is stunning, by the way. You're going to be ruling this roost in no time, I can tell. And Sarah says, well, I'm counting on it. Charlie says, are we ready to roll? Shall we head on to the set? And Tony says, well, hey, look who's here. I'm ready to go whenever you guys are. And Alec is grinning, and he says, great to see you again, Charlie. Knock 'em dead, you two. I've got a good feeling about this. And you take a deep, shaky breath, and you settle down at your desk. And Sarah's thinking, all right, Sarah, you've got this. Eye of the tiger. Thrill of the fight. It's a good time to quote lyrics. Sarah says, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sarah Gibson with Northbridge News, hosting a special segment with Charlie Carmichael. And Charlie says, well, it's good to see you again, Sarah. As I've told you time and again, it's always a delight to sit with you and chat. And Sarah says, well, of course. How are you and your team holding up after the vandalism to your office earlier this week? And Charlie kind of frowns and he says, well, as can be expected. This might sound a little silly, but more than anything, my feelings are hurt. And Sarah says, well, do you think you'll be moving to a new location to deter future attacks? And he says, I've never been a quitter. I've never been a quitter now. We're increasing security, and I think that'll be enough. And you clear your throat, shuffle your talking points as your palms begin to sweat. And Sarah says, okay, Charlie. And the three options are, you've made a lot of private donations to our area farms, huh? Or, why do you have environmental groups up in arms? Or, who is Oasis Unlimited? They must be huge supporters. Ooh. Ooh, boy. The middle one is a lot more subtle, but I kind of feel like we've asked that question before. And then if we ask him about the donations he's made, that could probably, send him in the direction of Anna. And I don't think we want to do that. I'm going to go with the who is Oasis Unlimited. They must be huge supporters. And he looks shocked. And he says, well, how do you even know that name? And Sarah smiles. You publicly disclosed it for the sake of transparency, of course. Care to share more about this business? And Charlie is looking not happy. And he's thinking, she's getting awfully close. I'd better find a new way to deal with Sarah Gibson, and fast. And so he still looks shocked. His mouth is dropped. And he says, I don't actually follow up with the majority of my donors. What they do with their money is their business. Sarah says, really? You've never met with anyone from the company, considering their massive monthly donations? And Charlie does not look happy. And he says, do you think I don't know what you're up to? And Sarah says, okay, Charlie. You've made a lot of private donations to our area farms, huh? And he smiles. As I always say, Northbridge Farms grows the sweetest peaches. I want to make sure our greenery keeps growing. And in his mind, he's thinking those bribes were completely private. How could she possibly know about them? And Sarah says, oh, I agree 100%. Why haven't you been bragging more about your philanthropy, Charlie? And he looks shocked, and he says, it's just not part of the Carmichael campaign. The extra charity I engage in is nobody's business. I'm a little confused as to how you even heard about it, frankly. And Sarah says, well, why is that? Was it supposed to be a secret? No! Charlie says. And Sarah says, well, okay, Charlie, why do you have environmental groups up in arms? And he smiles and says, as the old adage goes, you can't please everybody all the time. I consider the needs of the metro area and the environment, but let's be honest with ourselves, Ms. Gibson. Trees don't vote, and my voters are my top priority. And Sarah says, well, it doesn't sound... It sounds like you don't take these environmental groups too seriously. Do you think this could be why they oppose you? And he says, there's nothing wrong with a little urban development, and these protesters won't even come to the table. And he's thinking, what does she think she's doing? Who gave her these talking points? And Sarah says, maybe they won't come to the table because they know they're going to sacrifice a lot more than you will in any compromise. And she's thinking, I'm going to take a wild guess here that Waterstone Park wasn't your first acquisition on the down low. And then she says out loud, can you think of any recent plans that may have sparked their outrage? And could that outrage be linked to your office vandalism? And Charlie says, well, I gave you Waterstone Park. What more do you want? And Sarah says, I'm just asking questions here. This isn't personal, Mr. Carmichael. And Charlie shoots up from his seat and jabs a finger towards you. And he says, in fact, I'm wondering why you're trying to make me look like the bad guy here. Who have you been talking to? And Sarah says, well, I reserve the right to protect my sources. Charlie is really mad. He's like, then I reserve the right to end this interview. Get your girl under control, Alec. I'm out of here. And Sarah's like, what's going on in Oak Hills? You can't just walk away from this. And Charlie is stunned, and he's thinking, how much does this girl know? Has she contacted the farmers? I need to make a call. And Charlie storms off, and Anna hurries after him. And Alec stalks onto the set as Tony shuts his camera down. And Alec looks shocked, and he says, what was that? And Sarah says, I thought he could handle it. And Alec's like, and I thought you were my new star reporter. Come on, Sarah, pull yourself together. And Sarah says, but you wanted me to ask good questions. And Alec looks really upset. And he says, good questions are good when guests don't leave the set because of them, Ellen. Oof, that was a low blow. And Sarah says, come on, Alec. I know he's hiding something. And Alec says, so that's the last thing anyone wants to talk about on the air. And Sarah says, well, this interview isn't for Charlie. It's for the viewers, Alec. Northbridge, remember them? And Alex says, you're not going to have much luck getting Northbridge to tune into an interview with an empty chair, Gibson. I'm going to try to get Charlie to reschedule for tomorrow, so get your head on straight and start thinking like a pro ASAP. And Alec follows after Charlie and leaves the set. And you press your forehead between your palms and groan, taking deep, cleansing breaths until you feel a tentative touch on your shoulder and jolt. And Sarah's like, ah! And Tony says, ah! And Sarah says, Tony, sorry. I completely forgot you were in the room. No offense. And Tony says, none taken. I know it's hard, but don't worry too much about Alec, okay? He's wrong. You're nothing like Ellen. And Sarah says, well, I'm not so sure. I'm starting to worry that I'm exactly like her. Let's see. Alec's such an ass. Ellen was right all along, or I'll never catch Charlie. No, I will say, Ellen was right all along. I thought she was grasping at straws to try to make Charlie look bad, but what if she was actually holding back? I wonder how much she really knows about him. And Tony says, well, you've got a good point. Ellen was a lot of things, but she never softballed an investigation. And Sarah says, well, she's always developing her own stories to pitch to Alec, and he's always shooting them down. Maybe there's more to that. And Tony says, well, maybe it had something to do with her having the bedside manner of a frozen fish. Seriously, there's something unusual going on, but if anyone can get to the root of it, it's you. And Tony says, well, that's why I admire you, Sarah. You even inspired me to do something when I was pretty resolute about doing nothing. And Sarah says, oh yeah, what did I get you to do? And Tony says, well, I'm performing at an open mic tonight, not for unsuspecting people trying to eat dinner in peace. I'll be sharing my violin with people who, willingly submit themselves to it. Yay! And Sarah says, congrats, I think. And Tony says, well, my dad said he might even show up if he can get off work early. So that's nerve-wracking. In a good way. And Sarah says, well, I know what you mean. I still get jitters when my dad watches our broadcast. And Tony says, well, will you come with me to the show? I think having some moral support might really help shake off this performance anxiety. You got to share my music at the studio. Maybe you can get me to rock my stage debut. Plus, maybe it'll help you rinse some of the Carmichael schmooze off. It says, tutorial, go with Tony to his show and use your powers to help him make progress in his career as an artist. We're going to take a rain check on that. I really appreciate that you thought of me, and I promise to catch the next one. Good luck tonight. And Tony says, hey, thanks. If I call you repeatedly around 7 p.m., don't worry. It's just me freaking out. And Sarah says, you'll do fine, Tony. I'm sure of it, but I'll turn my ringer up just in case. And feeling a little better after hearing Tony's words, you gather your things and head home for the night. The following morning, you swing by your dad's house to visit before work, and you find him in the kitchen shaking headache medicine into his hand. And Dad says, hey there, Sarah. How'd your interview with that Charlie Carmichael go? Sarah says, well, it got canceled at the last minute. Charlie didn't want to answer my questions and walked off the set. Dad says, oh, over some simple campaign fluff? That's awfully insensitive. Sarah says, well, it wasn't really fluff. I asked him about recent protests, private funds, and what I strongly suspect is a shell company donor. And Dad's thinking, this is exactly what I was afraid of. I knew she'd find trouble. And then he says, that Carmichael fella is a millionaire with lots of public influence, honey. I don't think it's smart or safe to make him angry. And Sarah says, well, so I'm just supposed to let him steamroll over me and grab this election and do whatever he wants to our city? And Dad looks a little upset and said he'd be governor, not a dictator. It's not worth your job, maybe even your entire future, to make a man that powerful an enemy. Yes, he is. I'm a little disappointed in Dad right now. He should be totally cheerleading this. And Sarah says, well, I'll never break a story this big without some risk. I'm tired of guessing what everyone wants me to do. It never works out for me. And I'm not doing it anymore, Dad. This is the new Sarah, and she doesn't care what anyone else thinks of her choices. And Dad says, oh, yeah? And when he gets you fired and blackballed, where will you be? Living back at home with me? That's where. And Sarah says, Dad? Let's see. Oh, that would lead to a really emotional response. So the options are, this is what reporting is, I'm not afraid of Carmichael, or when will I ever be good enough? It just kind of feels like Dad has made this a little bit personal. So I'll say, when will I ever be good enough? No matter what I do, you don't have faith in me. You've never supported anything I've done. He says, I'll support you when you make good decisions. Too late, Sarah says. I'm done waiting around for a pat on the back that just isn't coming. And Dad's thinking, oh, my head is killing me. Damn it, Sarah, he says out loud. All I'm saying is... Suddenly, your father's face goes pale and he collapses to the floor. And Sarah says, oh my God, Dad! Dad! And that's the end of chapter 10. Chapter 11 is called It's Not What You Think. And I'll just turn on that music and I'm going to be right back. Oh, some bad jokes? Alright, I like that. And we're back. Carrie, thank you so much for the bits. The Ship of Fools has thanked you as well. Montjoy Exo, welcome to the mothership. Alright. And Eric wants a bad joke. We can do that. Before we jump into the next chapter... Now, has anybody been seeing any really cool fan fiction stuff lately? I know I've been seeing some really good edits on Twitter and Instagram. And of course, the Our Blended Lives with Choices episode from Nina, choices.mc on Instagram, had come out. She did a two-parter. That was really good. I've been doing a little bit more roleplay with the character of Alyssa, which is from her show, or her fanfiction series. I'm writing some things there. And then, let's see, where is she? Because I really love looking at her edits for Laws of Attraction. Let's see if I can find find the account on Twitter. up some jokes. Ah, yes, Yasmin Ayala, the flower news queen. Oh, episode 3 is in part on YouTube? Yeah. Yes, and she's under Nina, and if you just do a search for like our blended lives or the hashtag OBLWC, you'll find it on YouTube, and then she's also on Instagram as choices.mc. And then Yasmin, Flower News Queen, she's also on Instagram, and she's on Twitter as well. Does really great um, edits for Gabe Ritchie from Laws of Attraction. She does really great edits, and I really enjoy checking out her stuff. So highly recommend checking that out. Choices Lady also does some role play too on Instagram. It's the community for Choices is just ridiculously talented. It's just wow, mind blowing. So if you happen to see some really cool fan fiction stuff, definitely tag me on it so I can retweet it and stuff like that. I try to follow as much as I can, and retweet and pass it on and everything. Let's see. Let's find some bad jokes, shall we? Let's see. I don't like any of those. Let's see what Raven put up. I know we got some jokes to tell. Here we go. Why did the feline fail the lie detector test? Because he be lying. Oh my gosh. That's a good one. I'll mark that one as I've told it already, so we don't want to tell it again. Okay. Alright, we are moving into chapter 11. It is called... It was funny, yeah. Raven has been putting up some really good ones. I'm going to have to start reading more of the ones that he's posted, because they're hysterical. So... It's not what you think. Just the title of the chapter. An hour later, you sit in your father's hotel room. Hotel room. Oh my god, hospital room. Oh my goodness, it's a hospital room. He just fell out. Wringing your hands in front of the doctor. I'm thinking about a vacation. That's what I'm doing. My brain is in a hotel. So Sarah says, "Oh, don't worry about sugarcoating it, okay? Just tell me straight, what are we looking at here?" And the doctor says, "Well, your father is very lucky for your fast acting and calling 911, Ms. Gibson. I'm not sugarcoating when I say that. But every stroke and individual recovery are different. And your father is in a coma right now, and we can't be sure for how long." Oh, goodness. That's not good. And her words wash over you, and you nod numbly. And Sarah says, "Well, could you actually sugarcoat it just a little?" And the doctor says, "Well, he's stabilized, so that's some good news. He could wake up at any time." And Sarah says, "Well, I have to ask, was this my fault? We were having an argument when he collapsed." And the doctor is surprised, and she goes, "Not at all. Ischemic strokes are caused by clogged arteries. The fight was just a coincidence." And Sarah says, "Then why do I feel so terrible?" And the doctor says, well, a sense of irrational guilt is completely normal. You just endured a traumatic event, and I promise you that this was not your fault. And Sarah says, well, thank you, doctor. So, what can I do? And the doctor says, right now, the best way to help him is to talk to him. And Sarah says, he can hear me? And the doctor says, most likely, and listening to you talk will trigger his synapses to fire, bringing him closer to awareness. And with any luck, he'll wake up soon, and we can begin the first few months of physical therapy. And Sarah says, what? There's no way we can afford that extent of treatment. And the doctor frowns, and she says, the hospital is more than happy to work with you on a payment plan. We'll try our best to make the installments reasonable. Oh, boy. No comment. No comment. And Sarah's thinking, I'm just going to end up working myself to the bone and deep in debt for the rest of my natural life. And then she says, I guess the only thing left to do is go to work then. And the doctor's eyes linger on you thoughtfully. And she says, I'm not entirely sure you should be driving right now, Miss Gibson. You're welcome to stay and collect yourself. When you're ready, I think it would be wise to have a friend pick you up. And Sarah says, sure, I'll call my boss and just let him know why I'm not there. And in her mind, she's thinking, well, knowing him, he won't care at all. He's just going to be pissed that I missed the rescheduled interview. And you call the studio to let everyone know that you're at the hospital, and then hang up and stare off into space. And you're not sure for how long. And Sarah looks really sad, and she says, oh, Dad, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, and I'll do everything in my power to make sure you get better, no matter what it takes. And the door suddenly opens, and Charlie Carmichael steps into the room. And Sarah just looks stunned, and she says, what are you doing here? And he looks really sad, and he says, I came to offer my condolences, Sarah. I'd like to help you in any way that I can. And Sarah says, I don't know what you told them to get clearance to come back here, but I don't want visitors right now. And then he smiles and he says, oh, I think you're going to want to hear what I have to say. And Sarah says, Doctor, I told you, Charlie, this isn't the right time. If you won't listen to me, I'll have you removed. And he says, well, I just came up from the billing department. Oh, no, he didn't. And Sarah says, excuse me? And Charlie says, well, I gave them my checking account information and told them to cover your father's treatment indefinitely on my tab. And Sarah says, why would you do something like that? It's going to be tens of thousands of dollars. Easy. And he says, well, consider me a generous benefactor, a friend, someone you can trust, someone you would never betray. And Sarah says, a bribe against my integrity? Please don't ask me to do this. Being an honest reporter is the most important thing in the world to me, and I can't. And Charlie says, well, more important than your father getting the best care he possibly can? Really? And the door to the hospital room pops open, and the doctor glances in. And she says, is everything all right? I heard you call for me. And you look at Charlie, and then back to the doctor. And Sarah says, everything's fine. Thank you for checking. And the nurse joins the doctor at the door. And the nurse says, you wanted to be informed if we got more check-ins from Oak Hills area, right? And the doctor says, that's correct. And the nurse says, well, we just got another 2. The doctor says, the same symptoms? The nurse says, same symptoms. The doctor says, I'll be right there. Excuse me, Miss Gibson. And she closes the door again. And Sarah says, Sarah's thinking, Oak Hills? That was the town that Barbara mentioned. She said her property value was plummeting. And Charlie is grinning, and he says, do we have a deal? And you cast a forlorn look at your father, so weak on the hospital bed, and you think of the mountain of bills in your name. And Sarah says, deal. And Charlie says, excellent. Best of luck to your father, Sarah. I'll see you at the interview. We were scheduled for later this week. And Sarah's thinking, you're happy because you know you have me trapped. You knew I'd say yes, that I had no choice. And after Charlie leaves, you put your head in your hands and try to soothe yourself. And a moment later, the door opens again. Sarah says, what now? And Anna says, oh, I can go. Sarah says, Anna? And you rush to her, throwing your arms around her in a quick hug. And Anna looks really sad. She says, "Oh, Sarah, I'm so sorry to hear about your dad." Then you pull away. And Sarah says, "Yeah, I'm so numb and lost right now. I can barely think straight. I just keep zoning out and reliving it." And Anna says, "Oh, you poor thing. Come here." And Anna pulls you close in another longer hug, and you sigh, letting her. And Sarah says, "At least you're here for me. Thank you for coming." And Anna says, "Of course, as soon as Alec mentioned what had happened, I was on my way." And Anna gazes at you tenderly and takes your hand in hers, and she leans up and presses a kiss to your forehead. And Sarah says, "Well, what was that for?" And Anna says, "Well, for you to feel a little better. I'll do anything I can." And Sarah says, "Can you give me a ride home? The doctor said I shouldn't be driving." And Anna says, "Of course. Whatever you need, Sarah. Just say the word." So I wonder if Anna knew about him paying the bills for Dad. Kind of makes me wonder. Heading back through the city, you noticed a familiar ice cream shop coming up on the right. Then Sarah says, "Aw, man, Hanson's Creamery. My dad used to take me there whenever I was sad or scared." "I know! What happened to Jaime? Why wouldn't he be here?" And Sarah says, "Which was often. I was a sensitive kid." Eric, are you trying to lobby for Anna to move back up to number 1? Is that what you're doing? And Anna says, "Aw, you sound like you were a sweet kid to me." He can't be there if she doesn't call him. That's on Sarah. Exactly. And I think Anna was there with her boss. It seems awfully coincidental that she just showed up right after her boss left. And I'm sure she knew because of the rescheduled interview. Of course I am. I knew you were. And Anna says, "Well, why don't we stop there and have a little break? I don't really want to just drop you off at home right now." And Sarah says, "Aw, Anna, I appreciate that you care." And Anna says, "Well, I care a lot. Come on and let me coddle you this once. I won't tell a soul." Oh, yeah, she did say Alec told her. That's right. That's what I was like. It had to be because of the, yeah, it had to be because of the rescheduled interview. I just read this stuff, man. Sometimes it, like, goes over my head. Plus, I'm thinking, like, where's Jaime? Where's my friend? Let Anna comfort you with some ice cream and get the opportunity to take your relationship to the next level. Because we took Aubrey's scene, we're going to take Anna's scene, okay? Plus ice cream. Ice cream is always good. And speaking of ice cream, everybody, what's your favorite flavor? Do you have a favorite flavor of ice cream? And if you do, what is it? And Anna says, "That's what I was thinking too." And Anna turns off the main street and your spirits lift just a little bit as she parks at the old creamery. Celebrate good times. You enter the creamery and order Hanson's signature skyscraper sundae. Before the employee passes you the bowl, he dips 2 spoons into it. And Sarah says, "These seem much bigger the last time I was here." And Anna looks shocked. She says, "I hope they weren't. It's already huge." Vanilla, because you can add other stuff to it, Choices Lady says. Yeah, I love vanilla too. So does Ship of Fools. Ooh, a non-dairy Cherry Garcia. Ooh, yes, Cherry Garcia, so good. Buttered brown sugar. It's a gelato available from a place in Studio City. Oh, that's right, Fish. You did say you were from Southern California. I too am from Southern California. I'm just not from the LA area. Let's see. Well, only like half. I drive 50 miles for that stuff? Oh, dang! Wow! That's a long way to go! You must really like it. My favorite ice cream of all time is Thrifty brand ice cream. And the flavor is called Chocolate Malted Crunch. It's just, you know, the Thrifty drugstores was something that, you know, as a place that my parents would take us when we were kids. A lot like, say, like a Walgreens or, well, Rite Aid took it over in California. But yeah, chocolate. Oh, see? Fish knows what's up. Chocolate Malted Crunch is the bomb. It's like if you're a certain age and you're from Southern California, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And Sarah says, well, my hands are probably just smaller then. I was 12, maybe? And you sigh, remembering. And Sarah says, well, back when my dad and I had a much simpler relationship, I know that. And Anna says, so simpler is a good word for it. It is complicated to become an adult. And Sarah says, well, when everything can no longer be solved by a skyscraper sundae. You don't have to drive 50 miles for that one, right? I've never had the buttered brown sugar. If I just happen to find myself in the LA area again, might have to try to find that. And you settle at a table with Anna and dig into your frozen treat, thinking about the good old days. And Sarah says, my dad was my hero, you know. Whether it was a busted pipe or an uppity customer service rep, he could handle it. And all I wanted was his attention. A pat on the back, a smile. It meant the world to me. And Anna says, well, I know what you mean. I wanted my father's acceptance too. Enough that I bothered with the fancy prep schools to begin with. And I even briefly joined his business, but then I finally let go of that urge to please. He was pretty mad when I left the company. I think he expected me to become his protege. And Sarah says, but you must have happy memories. And Anna smiles and she says, of course. If I could make a small confession here, they were into pageants when I was a girl, and so was I. And Sarah says, no way. Anna says, I'm afraid so. The fluffy dresses, the fluffy bangs, all of it. And Sarah says, oh, as shockingly out of character as this all seems, if that's your happy memory with your family, I support it. And Anna says, we would travel for shows, which meant a lot to me, since they both worked all the time, and the pageants were my time. Mom couldn't stop gushing over how beautiful and talented I was to every stranger in her path. And Sarah says, well, that does sound really nice. And Anna says, well, of course, I grew up, as little girls tend to do, and I no longer wanted to wear fluffy dresses and get a ribbon for it. Awesomely enough, though, my mom still gushes over how beautiful and talented I am to every stranger in her path. I remember when I was little, she used to make up stories to help me overcome this childhood phobia of mine. Sharks. And Sarah says, sharks? Did you grow up on the beach? And Anna smiles and she says, nope, I was still afraid of sharks in pools, in the bathtub. It didn't matter. And Sarah says, but how could a shark? And then Anna says, through the magic of being 6. I guess the stories she told must have helped because I'm not afraid of sharks anymore. And Sarah says, well, your mom sounds lovely. And Anna says, she is. Now that I'm an adult, I realize she was actually leading me through a very effective guided meditation. And Anna wraps her arm around your shoulders and draws you closer. And Anna says, would you like me to tell you the story? It always helped me to relax, even though I know this isn't exactly a shark in the bathtub. And Sarah says, my dad is all I have, Anna. I'm not sure what's going to happen to him. I need all the help I can get. And Anna says, well, let's give it a try. What kind of heroine would you be? A princess, or an explorer, or an ogre? You could be anything. I'll be a mermaid. And Anna says, what are you afraid of right now? I'm afraid of loss. And Anna says, well, what's your favorite thing? I love ice cream. And Anna says, once upon a time, there was a beautiful mermaid named Sarah. And she was amazing at her job, and everyone loved her. Sarah says, I'm with you so far. And Anna says, but she found herself dogged by nightmares of loss, and a dark cloud fell over the kingdom, and storms of loss swept the land. Knowing that she would need to amplify her own positive energy to battle this terror, she sought out her source of strength, ice cream. And Sarah says, it's seriously underestimated. And Anna says, with the power of ice cream acting as a prism for her own inner light, the mermaid was able to blast those clouds apart. The storms of loss were decimated, and the kingdom returned to what it had once been. And you can't help but beam up at Anna, and nudge into her. And Sarah says, I can't believe you just got me to smile after the day I've had. And Anna says, well, that's what I'm here for. And you suddenly feel Anna's eyes burning into you, and her thoughts whisper through your mind. And she's thinking, God, I want her so badly. I wish there was something I could do, but I don't know if this is the right moment. And she bites her lip and looks away from you. It sounds like Never-Ending Story. I love that movie. Anna? Okay, because we kissed Aubrey, we have to kiss Anna. So we're kissing Anna. It's happening. Anna says, like it's all I've been able to think about, I will. Anna tilts your lips up towards hers, and you close your eyes, and the ice cream parlor fades away. Her lips taste like berries and feel like velvet, and they move gently over yours as her arms come up around you, holding you tight. And Sarah smiles and says, I think I've been waiting for this ever since we met. And Anna says, I've been waiting for this since the day I was born. She does little kisses over your chin and your cheek, and you shiver under her delicate touch and gaze up at her dreamily. And Anna says, Sarah, there's something about you that's so magical, I can't quite put my finger on it. And Sarah says, well, that's funny. It feels like your fingers are all over it. Oh my God. Oh. And you both chuckle, and you slide your hand into hers, twining your fingers together. And Anna says, I feel like I'm about to go floating to my car now. And Sarah says, I guess I probably should head home. I'm pretty tired. I can't stay at Hanson's forever, right? And Anna says, oh, I don't know. I could possibly live off of ice cream for a long time. And you smile sadly and nod towards Anna's car, waiting in the distance. And Anna says, are you sure? And you sigh. And Sarah says, I'm ready. Thank you, Anna. And you give her hand a squeeze. And Sarah says, for everything. Anna comforted you at the ice cream shop. And she says, you're always welcome. These shoulders are on retainer for you, okay? And feeling better and ready to return home, you leave the creamery and climb back into Anna's car. When you return to work, you're determined to focus on your interview with Carmichael. And Aubrey crosses the studio as you enter, placing a comforting hand on your shoulder and looking into your eyes. Aubrey looks sad, and he says, Hey, Sarah, I just wanted to say that I'm really sorry about your father. Please let me know if there's anything I can do, okay? And Sarah says, oh, I will. Thanks, Aubrey. I honestly just wanted to get to work and try to forget about the whole thing for a little while. And Aubrey says, well, I have something here that might actually cheer you up. Are you ready for it? And Sarah says, I'm dying to hear it. And Aubrey says, well, you've got a big story on your plate today. Charlie Carmichael's in the middle of a firestorm. And Sarah says, what? Really? Oh yeah, eco-activist group Expunge took credit for his campaign office vandalism and say they have internal documents in their possession. What kind of internal documents? Carmichael drafted up some policies that wouldn't go public until after his election, and he'd be more lenient on environmental violations and reduce fines. Sarah says, well, that's great! And then she's thinking in her mind, he's paying for Dad's medical bills for my unwavering public support. And Sarah says, he caught the criminals responsible for ruining his headquarters. What a win for Charlie. And Aubrey looks shocked. He says, seriously? You don't think there's a story and expunges claim? And the hall doors push open, and Charlie Carmichael strolls onto the set with Anna in tow. And Charlie says, Sarah, you're my star. Great to see you. Can't wait to try out our exclusive one more time. And Sarah says, well, excuse me, Aubrey, I'd better go prep my questions. And Aubrey says, Sarah, wait! And you pretend not to hear him, hurrying off before you have to answer any more questions. Moments later, you settle in front of the cameras for your interview. And Sarah says, good day, Northbridge. I'm Sarah Gibson with Charlie Carmichael in a special Northbridge News exclusive segment. Good to have you again, Mr. Carmichael. It's always a pleasure. You force yourself to ask the questions you've prepared while Alec, Anna, and Tony watch behind the cameras. Tell me, Mr. Carmichael. Let's see. So she has 3 questions. How do you feel about these accusations? Does this so-called policy actually exist? Will you be pressing charges on the criminals? Let's probably start with that. It's kind of a softball question. Will you be pressing charges against the criminals? Eric's like, I hate that man. Yeah, I'm not very fond of Mr. Carmichael either. And he says, well, that's an interesting question. The court is such nasty business. I'd much rather settle the matter privately. However, I might have no choice. These troublemakers need to see that I can't just be messed with. I'll fight back. And Sarah says, well, naturally, they did break the law. They must have anticipated that there would be consequences. Charlie says, well, I still haven't made up my mind. The members are anonymous, but in my experience, nothing is truly anonymous. And Sarah's thinking in her mind, good point. If you fight hard enough, you can find what you're looking for. The rest of the interview passes in a blur as you agree with everything Carmichael says. And he's grinning at you and says, I'd much rather focus on the bright future of my campaign than linger on the troubled kids who pulled this stunt, though. With the help of true journalists like you, I should be able to put this fake news hullabaloo behind me in no time at all. And Sarah says, well, thanks so much for sitting with me, Charlie. As always, your arguments are certainly persuasive. And Tony says, and cut! That's a wrap. Alex says, loved it! My star reporter is back! And Charlie says, well, what a great interview, Sarah. Thanks again for always being so very, very understanding toward my plight. And Sarah says, I want to fight back. We're not giving up on this. And Sarah says, well, you know as well as I do. And then Alex says, all right. Northbridge is going to fall in love all over again with these 2 heartbreakers. Now, can I steal our future governor for a second? And Sarah says, be my guest. As Charlie and Alec head off chatting amiably, you catch Anna's eye. And she looks sad and she's thinking, she did a complete 180. What changed? Is it because she's under too much stress after her dad's stroke? And then she's thinking further, maybe Charlie won her trust back by going to visit him at the hospital. At least it wasn't a fishy donation this time. But what if it was? He rushed off as soon as he heard. Seemed almost happy about it. And Sarah says, Anna, I want to apologize. I know how that must have looked. Anna says, well, you don't have to apologize to me. I think I know what's going on. And she leans close to you, lowering her voice as Tony packs up his gear and heads off. And Anna says, did he give you money? I know that's usually how he handles problems. And Sarah says, wow, you do have a nose for news, Anna. And Anna looks really upset. She's like, that pig! Of course he goes after you when you're most vulnerable. And Sarah says, well, I promised to portray him in a positive light for the rest of the campaign. I can't afford the bills otherwise. I feel terrible, but... And then Anna says, don't. I would have done the same thing. Anyone would have, and he knew that. So I guess this means I'm in the investigation alone now, huh? And Sarah says, I'm not abandoning you. I still care about the truth, even if I can't report it. We'll just have to... find another ally who can do more. You're stuck undercover as long as you work for him, and I'm bound by our agreement to do nothing with my story. We need to make a connection with someone who doesn't have as much to lose, but still hates Charlie just as much. And Anna is shocked, and she says, but Northbridge loves Charlie, though, except environmental advocates? Anna says, I was just thinking the same thing. He's got his share of enemies. We just have to find them. And Alec and Charlie enter the room again, laughing about something, and they sweep past you, their thoughts suddenly filtering into your head. And Alec is thinking, good idea to head away from prying eyes. Sarah seems to have fallen in line, but you can never be too sure. And Charlie says, I'll be back in a minute, Anna. We don't need any tag-alongs where we're going. And you lean close and whisper to Anna as they stride toward the doors. And she says, Anna, I think they're up to something. I just have a really strong reporter's hunch right now. And Anna says, well, what should we do? Should we follow them? And Sarah says, well, as much as I love your company, I think effectively tailing is way harder with two people. But I might be able to bring something back for you. Tutorial track Charlie and Alec to get hard evidence for later in the story. Earn a reporter point and show Anna you're not giving up. Follow them and get some dirt? Yes, we will. 1 second. And we're back. You tail Alec and Charlie discreetly as they head out of the studio's lot and onto a crowded street in downtown Northbridge. And you try to stay close. And Sarah says, shoot. Or she's thinking, shoot, I hope I can keep up and still avoid being seen. And Alex says, you really wrangled Sarah back there. What was up with that whole interview? And Charlie says, well, what do you mean? I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. And Alec frowns and says, well, she had all the candor and warmth of a zombie, though. Very un-Sarah-like. And Sarah's thinking, oh, Alec, I had no idea he cared. And Alec looks shocked. He says, how's that any going to fix her face? And there it is, Sarah's thinking. And Charlie says, gee, Alec, it probably has something to do with her father being in the hospital. You have all the people skills of a badger, do you know that? Charlie suddenly glances over his shoulder and you shrink back, falling away in the crowd. Several people divide you now. So many people, so many thoughts. How am I going to find theirs and stay on track? Sarah's thinking. And the thought says, somebody's thinking, it's a shame to let go of so much money. Oh my goodness. So much money, but my deal bit needs to benefit both of us. And somebody else is thinking, yes, Queen. Now where is the little crown emoji and a hair flip gift? Perfect. And their thoughts are about the people on the street. And you zero in on the thought and follow it more closely, breaking through the throng of strangers and to see Alec and Charlie again. And Sarah's like, yes! Nailed it! And Alex says, did you hear something? And Charlie says, focus, Burdock. I feel like I'm talking numbers with a squirrel here. Alex says, what do you mean to say what I meant to say was that the stipend sounds very fair. And Sarah's like, whew. And they turn a corner and head into a fancy restaurant, never pausing to glance behind them, and you slink inside too. You duck behind a potted Fern as Alec and Charlie wait to be seated, and Charlie pulls out a thick envelope and taps Alec with it. And Charlie says, "I think lunch should be on you, sport." And Alec says, "Put that away! Do you want the whole world to know?" And Charlie says, "Well, when you handle sums as great as this regularly, it becomes a casual thing. Relax, I was just having some little fun." And Sarah's thinking, what was that? This must have been the reason they left the studio. And you fumble to take out your phone and grab a picture, but Charlie's already put it back into his pocket. A waiter leads them off to their table as you watch, uncertain how you can follow. This place is definitely for reservations only. After another group is led to their seats and the foyer is empty, the maitre d' turns his back and you hurry past. And Sarah's thinking, yes, my palms are tingling and my heart is racing, but yes, I did it! And she's thinking, now I just need to find somewhere close and obscured. You pass a group of laughing people heading out of the restaurant and a solitary man having an early cocktail. And the stranger's thinking, well, she's either very cute or I should have ordered lunch with my martini after all. Charlie says, "I think I'm going to wash my hands before we dine. I can't stand how dirty the streets of the city can be. I'll be back." And Sarah thinks, he's getting up, but I haven't found a good spot yet. He's going to see me. And as Charlie sips his water before standing, you scan the nearest places you might be able to hide. And Sarah's like, thinking, and she's like, oh, join the laughing group, hide under a table, ask the stranger to kiss me. We'll do that. It sounds like we'll get closer. And you slide into the empty seat next to the man who was just admiring your cuteness. You fell asleep? It's okay, Dr. Waffles. How was your nap? And Sarah says, I know this is crazy, but would you kiss me? Wrap your arms around me? The whole deal? Exactly what Fish said. And the stranger says, definitely! And he's thinking, I'm going to have to start coming here more often. And the stranger pulls you close and kisses you, shielding your body from Charlie's view as he passes. And he doesn't seem to notice that you barely kiss him back. And Charlie's thinking, ugh, this city is such a toilet, even if five-star eateries are immune from trash people. Randomly making out with Chris Evans? Score. I know, right? Charlie's thinking and he continues to walk, and his thoughts fade away and you extricate yourself from the random gentleman. And Sarah says, I'm good now, thanks for your help. No, there is nothing better than kissing Jaime. No. And the stranger frowns. He's like, are you sure? I think we really got something here. And Sarah says, set your bar higher, buddy. And you slip away and crouch down behind an empty neighboring table. And Charlie returns. You're close enough to clearly see their faces. And Charlie says, well, let's get to it before the waiters start swarming us with appetizers and dessert carts, shall we? I don't like to mix the muddiness of money with the pleasure of a good meal. And Sarah's thinking, they're going for the drop. The eagle is landing. And she pulls out her phone and records. You line them up in front of your lens and watch. And Alec, he's smiling. He says, sure. Is it all right if I count it? And Charlie says, don't be a fool. It's one thing to show the world an envelope. It's another to show it an envelope of $30,000. Besides, it's all there. I have more than enough to spread around, and the support of Northbridge News is most valuable to me. I still have an election to win, after all. And he smiles. And the envelope changes hands. And Alex smiles even bigger, and he says, happy to help. And Sarah says, yes, got it. She's thinking that in her mind. And when the waiter distracts them by returning with their meals, you slip out of the restaurant. Hurrying back to beat Alec and Charlie, you return to the studio and hunt Anna down. Did you get anything good? Anna asks. And Sarah says, oh, just a little video evidence of a cash exchange between Alec and Charlie. And Anna looks shocked and she says, seriously? That might be enough to turn him in for bribery right now. And Sarah says, it might, but whoever is behind Oasis Unlimited would get away. We know it's not Charlie funding himself. And Anna says, can we be sure that Oasis Unlimited is nefarious? What if we're waiting for nothing? And Sarah says, I don't think anyone operates a shell company for benevolent legal purposes. But I got a tip from a friend who owed me, and they said to check out Oak Hills for more information on Oasis Unlimited. We can take them both down, I'm sure. We just need a little more time. And Anna says, Oak Hills? I've never even heard of it. I wonder what could be going on there. And Sarah says, the other problem here is that this incriminates my station, and without it, I don't have much platform to expose Carmichael. And Anna says, you're right. I want this investigation to be complete before we take it to the authorities. And Sarah says, it's still a win, though. We're one piece of evidence closer. And Anna says, all because you were willing to take a serious risk, Sarah. You're amazing. And Sarah says, I'm just keeping up with you. Oh, I love this piece of music. Excuse me, very dramatic. And it says, later, prepping for your next segment, there's a knock at your dressing room door. Fuzzy thoughts emanate through the wall. And the thoughts are, and she can hear the thoughts, and it says, can't believe her, so disappointed. And Sarah says, come in. The door pops open, and Aubrey steps inside. And he says, hey, I was just down in editing, and I saw your exclusive with Carmichael. And Sarah says, oh, right, that. And Aubrey says, yeah, that! What happened? I gave you a real story, and you handed it to Carmichael on a skewer. And Sarah says, Aubrey, I wish I could tell you. I just can't. Aubrey says, Sarah, if you're in some kind of trouble, you have to tell me. And Sarah says, it's complicated. I've said too much already. And Aubrey says, but the people at the studio questioned your integrity, and I stood up for you. Don't you know how this is going to look? And then Sarah says, go ahead and tell me. And he says, it'll look like you're Carmichael's patsy, and I'm like you, and like I'm yours. And you rub your temple as a dull headache suddenly grows. And Sarah says, Aubrey, I'm sorry. And he says, and he's thinking, and she didn't even, and why won't she? And his thoughts flare and dim like a fading radio station, and you frown, and you're still trying to figure it out when your headache goes away as quickly as it came. And Aubrey says, I don't even know how to feel about you right now. I have so much going on in my head. I feel like I'm going crazy. And Sarah says, Sarah's thinking, really? I can't hear anything. And Aubrey says, I wish there was something you could say to make me feel better. And Sarah says, well, I wish there was too. I don't know what to say. And Sarah says, let's see, try harder to read his mind, or try to speak from the heart. And I'm thinking she'll want to try to speak from the heart. Sarah says, okay, Aubrey, I understand that I've broken your trust, and it must feel terrible. I'll find some way to show you that I'm still the same old Sarah. It'll just take time while I figure some things out. And Aubrey says, well, you know where to find me. I'll be waiting. For now, I've got to go and clear my head. I'll see you around. Sarah says, Aubrey! As the door closes behind him, your heart thunders in your chest, and the room suddenly feels very small. Sarah says, this has to be a mistake. Maybe it's just Aubrey. Maybe he being upset screened his thoughts. And you rush to the studio, telling yourself again and again that this isn't happening. And you burst through the doors to spot Tony packing up his equipment. And he fumbles with the lens, drops it, and accidentally crushes it beneath his heel. And Tony looks really bummed out. And she says, Sarah says, or is thinking, no thoughts? And you catch sight of June and Maggie flirting with each other at the writer's desk. And Sarah's thinking, ha! June is always a bubbling cauldron of thoughts when she's around Maggie. Guaranteed win. And Maggie says, I was going to send you a selfie before I went to bed, but I kind of dropped the phone into the bathtub. And June says, the bathtub? And Maggie says, it was going to be tastefully blurry, but now my phone is the blurry one. Twisted ending. And Sarah says, well, I'll try. Standing closer to them. And you take several steps, but you still can't hear anything at all. And you step close enough to almost touch June. June says, whoa, hey, creeper, what's going on? And now we're powerless. We can't hear thoughts anymore. And Sarah says, just losing complete control of my life. Excuse me. Unsure of where to go and what to do now, you leave the studio, perplexed by the silence in your head. That night, you head to your dad's place to pack up some things when he wakes up. Sarah says, okay, fresh socks, some deodorant, the book he was just reading? And you lower your head and press your lips together as tears fill your eyes. And there's a soft knock at the front door. And you look up to see Jaime tentatively crossing the threshold. And he looks really sad. He says, hey there, I saw your car out front. Figured I'd come over and just make sure. Are you okay? And you walk to Jaime and throw your arms around his neck, letting yourself really sob for the first time today. And Jaime says, of course you're not okay. That was a stupid question. Yes, he finally shows up. And it's like, okay, it took you long enough, my friend. And Sarah says, I know I should have told you sooner, and not in a text, but I've just been trying to keep it all at bay, and I don't know how to put it, and Jaime says, shh, shh, shh. It's okay, you don't have to explain yourself to me. And Sarah says, Jaime, what if he doesn't wake up? And Jaime says, let's not talk about that until the doctors say that we should. Sarah says, well, I just know that life is going to be different after this, and I'm not ready. And Jaime says, well, I think you'll surprise yourself, Sarah. You're the most capable woman I know. Let's see, Sarah says, I have to be now, don't I? I have to handle all of this. And Jaime says, well, not alone. It's a lot for one person to take. Don't forget that you have a support system right here. And Sarah says, thank you, Jaime, I won't forget. What's he supposed to do, follow Sarah around like Anna does? Yeah. And Sarah's thinking, even though seeing you be so sweet and good and pure only makes me feel worse. And Jaime says, well, he's going to be okay, and so will you. And Sarah says, well, I hope you're right. I mean, I know you're right. And I just can't stop thinking about all the things that are going wrong in my life, swirling around in my head all day. And Jaime says, well, there's a light to guide you out of those dark thoughts. We just have to find it. What about your dazzling wit, your kind heart, your razor-sharp fashion sense? And Sarah says, well, I guess I've got my own place in the job. Even if neither are perfect, I'm still young, and I'm on the right path. And Jaime says, you're selling yourself short right now. For your age, you're very successful. Game recognizes game. And you laugh softly, pausing to wipe a tear from the corner of your eye. And Sarah says, well, I guess I'm working my dream job for my dream company, and my apartment is nice. And Jaime says, nobody helped you get that either. It was all you. And Sarah says, oh, how could I forget Glory? She keeps me on my toes during that window when she's awake anyway. And Jaime says, all I hear is, Sarah is a great cat mom. And Sarah says, well, have I ever told you that your honesty is your best quality? What? I skipped the romance option? What happened? Did I? Oh, did I miss it? Oh, no. Sorry, fish. I was like, wait, I didn't see a heart. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Let's nurture all these little rays of sunshine to guide you through the dark. Oh, sure, we'll be okay, don't worry. Hey, that gives me an idea. Is your old bedroom still a cluttered time capsule? And Sarah says, well, naturally, why? And Jaime says, would it be cool if I wanted to dig around in there with you? I bet there's tons of little pieces of fam and friendship to make us smile. Tutorial, let Jaime cheer you up by going through your old things and reliving the happy memories they told. Yeah, let's go. Oh. You lead Jaime back to your old room, and his whole face lights up at the sight. And Jaime says, I haven't been back here in ages. I'm surprised we didn't have to force the door open. And Sarah says, well, yeah, I've cleaned it once or twice. All the stuff on the floor got put into boxes. And Jaime strolls to the desk beneath your bunk and examines the calendar. And Jaime says, so this is where all the magic happened. 9 a.m. Library with Jaime for bio study. Aww. And you have a seat at your old computer and dig around in the boxes on your shelves. And Sarah says, yep, those were the good old days. I'm pretty sure we never actually got around to studying. And Jaime says, but we pitched a ton of podcast concepts to each other, and that's what counts. And Sarah says, does it? And you pull something familiar out of a box and gasp. She goes, oh wow, it's my old diary! And Jaime says, gather around, children. It's time to hear the tale of Sarah Gibson, teenager. And Sarah says, you want me to let you hear this nonsense? And Jaime says, well, why not? It's like 10 years old, isn't it? There's nothing to be embarrassed about anymore. And Sarah says, sure there's not. I'll read you this entry about the huge crush I had on you. And Jaime says, wait, really? When? And how? And Sarah smiles. It probably had something to do with your deep, dark gaze. It's something up here about silken locks. Wow, self. And Jaime's like, I meant, how did I never notice? He's like Dawson to her Joey. See, I never watched Dawson's Creek. I know who the characters are, but I never watched it. And Sarah says, well, as to when, I apparently had a huge crush on you May 15th, 8 years ago. And also today now. And Jaime says, it's not a crush if the feelings are returned in full force. And Sarah says, well, somehow still feels like one. And Jaime says, I wish I'd known. And Sarah says, well, let's see here. Jaime stopped by to help my parents resurface the porch this afternoon. He's so gorgeous I could literally die. And Jaime says, I mean, I can resurface that porch again right now. It's not a problem. Men are so oblivious. Why is he asking that question? And Sarah says, don't. You know my insurance doesn't cover ocular combustion. And you fold up the diary and slip it back into the box, pulling another item into the light. From when Dad played Gandalf. And Jaime says, your dad played Gandalf? I can't picture it. And Sarah says, well, he was younger then, obviously. He used to have a really goofy side. Oh, I'll never forget it. Community theater, and I was a hobbit. I was like 5. Oh, please tell me this was captured on film, Jaime says. It might be. After all, he kept the beard. Whoops. And Jaime says, your dad kept the beard? That's so sentimental. And Sarah says, you're right. I never really thought about it at the time, but that memory must have meant a lot to him too. And you hesitate as your throat suddenly closes up on you, and tears prick your eyes. And Jaime reaches out and folds you in his arms. And he says, I know how you feel, Sarah. I'm here for you, whatever you need. And you nod and lean your head on his shoulder for a few moments. And suddenly, you gasp, catching sight of something else across the room. do you remember that Valentine you made me? And Jaime says, oh wow, yeah, I don't know why I didn't expect that to crop up and haunt me. And Sarah says, well, what are you thinking about? What are you talking about? It's seriously the sweetest Valentine I've ever gotten. And Jaime frowns and he says, but I got everyone else cards, and no one else made anything special for anyone, so it was obvious. Sarah says, well, was it obvious? And Jaime says, well, that I liked you. And Sarah says, I know, Jaime, and that's why it's such a happy memory for me. You must have been a little embarrassed, but I felt loved. And Jaime says, I didn't think of it like that. Too busy getting dogged out by every guy in my class, I guess. And Sarah says, well, they were just jealous that their crushes weren't wearing homemade valentines on their wrists. And Jaime peers down at you more seriously for a moment, cups your cheek, drawing you close for a sudden, gentle kiss. And Jaime says, sorry, I just had to. And Sarah says, you don't have to apologize. And with a soft smile on your face, he slides the box of memories back onto its shelf and stand. He says, you remembered the good times with Jaime, playing the hits. And Sarah says, thanks for doing this with me, Jaime. I know it must be time-consuming to put me back together every time I fall apart. And Jaime says, hey, it's what I do. I wouldn't be much good if I could fix a circuit or a floor or an engine, but not my best friend. And you and Jaime embrace once more and then head together back into the living room. Jaime says, hey, I almost forgot about your big exclusive with Carmichael. I cannot wait to see this. I bet you tear into him good. That ought to bring a smile to your face, huh? Even a little? And Sarah says, oh no, we don't have to watch that. We should get this stuff to the... And Jaime turns on the news just in time to see the worst part. And Sarah says, I agree. Softening dramatic penalties on corporate waste production will ultimately benefit our economy. Of course, Sarah doesn't believe that. And Jaime says, what are you doing? Sarah, you sound like a robot. What happened? And Sarah says, well, this looks bad, but, you know, there's options. Editing butchered it. I was just doing my job. Charlie's an okay guy. I'll just say I was just doing my job. And Jaime says, as a capitalist puppet? You don't even look the same. You look like you're being held hostage. And Sarah says, that's what work is. And you're holding yourself hostage for ransom you get every 2 weeks. And Jaime says, so you were forced to read from a script? Or they were going to fire you? Is that what happened? And Sarah says, no, that was all me. Maybe you just don't know me as well as you thought you did. And Jaime says, I don't believe that for a second. Sarah says, that's because you'll always make excuses for me. Yeah, because you'll always make excuses for me. And I'm just a bad person, Jaime. And he says, Sarah, seriously, stop. Tell me what's really going on. And Sarah says, no, okay? It's too much, and I can't get anyone else involved. You could get hurt. And Jaime looks shocked, and he's like, if I could get hurt, that means you could get hurt. And Sarah says, I won't. I've got everything under control. And Jaime says, why won't you let me in? We've always tackled our problems together. And Sarah says, not this time, Jaime. I'm going into this one alone. Jaime stares at you with an intensity and says nothing. And even though you feel as if he's trying to speak to you. And Sarah says, Jaime, I can't hear what you're thinking. And he says, well, maybe that's for the best. I should get out of here before one of us says something we really regret. And Sarah's thinking, too late. And you watch him go with helpless eyes, still groping for the words that could make this all okay again. After a rough night of tossing and turning, you force yourself to get dressed and shuffle into your living room. And Sarah says, okay, life, just gotta do life. Yeah, okay, life, just gotta do life. Here we go. Being alive. And a loud knock pounds at your door. And Sarah's thinking, it's probably another dear friend I've disappointed, or some goon of Carmichael's here with more demands. And you open the door and gape. Finally, some service! Can we talk? It's Ellen. You mean like together? Sarah says. And Ellen says, good point, honey. I'll do the talking and you do the listening. You're gonna want to hear this. And that was the end of chapter 11. I'm just gonna take a break for a couple minutes, and then we'll be back, and we'll continue with chapter 12. Alright, I am back. Thanks everybody for hanging out. And this is going to be our last chapter for the evening. It's chapter 12 called Second Thoughts. Still gaping at Ellen, you move to let her enter your apartment. She holds a file propped against her hip. And Sarah says, how did you know where I live? And Ellen says, tip of the iceberg. Can I get a coffee or something? Croissant? I don't know where that came from. Don't ask. So Sarah says, sorry, we're short-staffed today. Follow-up question. What are you doing here? What are those papers? And Ellen says, well, remember when you caught me going through Alec's office the day the power went out? And Sarah says, the day you cut the power, you mean? And Ellen's grinning, and she says, "Not bad, head anchor. Yes, the day I cut the power, I took this file. And if you read through the jargon, it's a contract between Carmichael and Northbridge News." And Sarah says, "I kind of figured. I skimmed it when you dropped it that day." And Ellen says, 2 points for Tiger Beat then." Sarah says, "So you were willing to take down our workplace to get Carmichael?" And Ellen says, "I'll do whatever it takes. You don't really know me, Sarah, but I think that I might know you." And Sarah says, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And Ellen says, "Please, your big stories have been about saving animals and finding lost books. You're a good person and a good reporter. That's why I want you to help me take down Charlie Carmichael. We're two powerful women with a nose for the truth." And Sarah says, "And unfortunately, we're both screwed. Neither of us are exactly in a position to do anything with all the evidence we have, are we? I mean, Northbridge News isn't going to run anything bad about Charlie, and both of our credibilities have been compromised recently." And Ellen says, "You think I give a damn? I bet Merriweather would love to help us out. She doesn't want to lose this election." And Sarah says, "But what about my job?" And Ellen says, "Oh, yes. Whatever would we do without our jobs? That's exactly the attitude they want you to have. Charlie Carmichael is certainly is planning that money to get him anywhere he wants to go. And don't prove him right, Sarah." And she says, "Well, I guess that's true. Some things are more important than career, and taking risks is an inherent part of this job." And Ellen says, "Hey, I like that. If we weren't off the record, I'd quote you." Glory's head pokes out from behind the couch, blinking sleepily. And Ellen says, "Isn't that the cat from your first exclusive?" And Sarah says, "Yep, Glory is mine now. She wanted to change managers after all that hassle." Sarah says, "Normally her good side is pretty fickle." And Ellen leans down and scratches Glory under the chin. And Glory's going purr, purr. And Sarah says, "But I should have known you'd be a cat person, and that Glory would be an Ellen person." Ellen says, "I take that as a compliment. Before we go further, though, we should address one major conflict of interest. Charlie's bribing you, isn't he?" And Sarah says, "How do you keep knowing this stuff?" And Ellen says, "I've been making the most of my sabbatical. Bribery is Charlie's first instinct, and I figured you were on his book bankroll after I saw that hideous interview." Sarah says, "Oh, you saw that, huh?" And Ellen says, "Every cringe-worthy second. It was obvious that something happened, and I've been following Charlie, and I saw you both at the hospital." Sarah says, "You really are an amazing reporter." Ellen says, "I'll never get tired of hearing that." Sarah says, "So, have you uncovered Oak Hills yet?" Ellen says, "I was planning a trip out that way as soon as possible, actually." Sarah says, "I'll pitch in on gas. And I should tell you that I'm not alone in my investigation of Charlie. We are still off the record, aren't we?" And Ellen says, "Pat me down. I'm not wearing a wire." And Sarah says, "Anna's the one who brought her concerns to me originally. She'll also be privy to anything you share with me." Yeah. Ellen says, "Anna Koishi? Huh? She might have some solid data on Oasis Unlimited, finally? Or Cycron?" Sarah says, "Oasis Unlimited is still a mystery, and Cycron, the oil company? Maybe we should compare notes. What do you know about Oak Hills?" Ellen says, "You should have noticed by now that they're suffering some serious devastation, especially since you were just at the hospital." Let's see. Eric says, "So only Anna and Ellen figured it out. Better than Jaime and Aubrey just thinking the worst of poor Sarah." Yeah, that's true. Fish says, "Aubrey should know better working at the station. Jaime has no idea what else is going on." Yeah. Don't take Jaime's lack of information out of context. Right? Yeah, he just doesn't know. And Sarah says, "Well, the doctor did mention they were getting lots of residents from that area." And Ellen says, "The people, animals, and plants are all getting sick. And I think it's because of a pipeline Cycron laid months ago." And Sarah says, "I hadn't heard anything about that." He said, know Sarah better than to think the worst. He should know her better than to think the worst, yeah. And Ellen said, the county slipped it into the back of a bill for school funding. By the time the taxpayers realized what had happened, it was too late. Bingo! Sarah says, well, what do you know about Oasis Unlimited? And Ellen says, if you know anything about Oasis Unlimited, you know there's nothing to know. It's a front. That's what Anna and I were thinking too. We need to find out who's behind it. And Ellen says, whoever it is, they've got a lot to gain from a Governor Carmichael. I suggested an inquest from the FBI, but they said they couldn't go after someone without any evidence. And Sarah says, luckily for them, they got Northbridge's best on evidentiary duty. What do you know about Cycron? And Ellen says, Charlie Carmichael is a silent partner with Cycron. Sarah says, well, how did you find that out? And Ellen says, I paid off the janitor at Carmichael Investments to bring me the trash from his office. Sarah says, and I bet Cycron motivated his policy on reducing environmental fines. I knew there was more to it than just forgery or misinterpretation. And Ellen says, definitely. He's got a huge incentive to change the structure of our policies for personal gain. Sarah says, so paying off janitors, digging through court bills, contacting the FBI? I have to say, I'm impressed. And Ellen says, praise from the Wonderkin. I never thought I'd see the day. And Sarah's thinking, has she been wanting my respect this whole time? And deep down, have I been wanting hers? And Ellen looks really sad. And she says, strange to think that we hated each other so much when maybe we're alike. What do you say? Give me another chance to prove myself as a reporter and as a good woman? Sarah says, you misjudged me, and I misjudged you too. And Ellen says, well, if you're going to be sorry, I guess I can be sorry too. I shouldn't have told everyone you were an opportunistic rat. Sarah says, you said what? And Ellen smiles, who can remember? It was all so long ago, and we're sorry, etc. Maybe it was all for the best anyway. Ever since I left the studio, my complexion has cleared up, I'm sleeping better. Alec is just so damn toxic. And Sarah says, he actively pitted us against each other all the time. How did I never see it before? And Ellen says, or Ellen looks really sad, and she says, I played into his hand too. I was threatened by your talent, but I'm relieved to have you on my side now. And Sarah says, hard, saying, we're going to be much stronger together than opposed to each other. Because from now on, we'll trust each other for the sake of the story and for our sanity, okay? Ellen says, trusting Sarah Gibson. Hell, I'll try anything once. So, what do you think about going to Oak Hills this weekend? I've got nothing on my schedule. Road trip? And Sarah says, road trip! Ellen says, hard evidence? And Sarah says, I've already got some, but sure, let's get more. And Ellen says, wait, what? And Sarah says, just a little video footage of a cash exchange, but it's still not enough to uproot the whole network. Ellen says, hell yeah, I like the attitude, but let's crank it up a notch. Grab your stuff and let's go now. Sarah says, and you're going to love visiting Jaime for the weekend, Glory. And then she's thinking, oh right, maybe not Jaime. We could try Anna. Ellen says, hey, you talk to your cat like she's a person. How totally on brand. And Sarah says, right, that's me. She's thinking, it's definitely not because I used to read her. I'm used to reading her mind. As if she understood every word, Glory slips off and hides immediately. Heart pounding with excitement, you head to your room to throw some things in a bag, and Ellen follows. Sarah says, so I need something for the countryside. And you glance down at your actual clothes. I don't know about this. And Ellen says, well, do you have anything kind of rustic? Maybe some ripped jeans and a flannel, etc.? And Sarah says, well, meanwhile, you're going in stilettos and a French manicure? Ellen says, well, they won't recognize me if I don't look sophisticated. But no one has any idea who you are, so you've got the chance to ingratiate with a cool leather jacket or something. Sarah says, well, I do have something like that. Pick some new clothes out to help win the trust of the Oak Hill farmers. Okay. Sarah says, it's a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll. It's perfect. Ellen rolls her eyes, but can't hide the traces of a smile. She says, you're such a dork, but at least you look good. Come on, let's go. After you finish packing and text Anna to let her know what's going on, Ellen shoos you out the door. That afternoon, you arrive with Ellen in the scenic little town of Oak Hills. Sarah says, I've never been here before, but it sure is beautiful. Ellen says, well, yes, it is. Welcome to Morgenstern Farms, which used to be one of the top producers of farm fresh food in our entire state. Morgenstern? That name sounds familiar. He could probably tell she was lying to him. I think so, too. And Sarah says, and what is it now? Ellen says, out of business. I came out this way weeks ago for a special on sick livestock, and it looks like things have gotten worse. Ellen says, Bob Morgenstern's cows aren't producing milk. His crops are withering, and his son just got out of the hospital. Good news is, I think he's ready to talk. And Sarah says, well, yeah, after a laundry list of problems like that, anyone would be feeling a little bit more open in front of the mic, I bet. You pick your way through the field without difficulty, though Ellen staggers around in her heels. Ellen says, my heels cut right into this damn soil. And Sarah says, oh, is it difficult to walk? I hadn't noticed. And Ellen frowns. And Bob says, hey, who's that there? What are you folks doing on my property? I already told the fella with Oasis that I'm not interested in any more checks. I need full-blown soil remediation here. And Sarah says, we're not with Oasis, Mr. Morgenstern. We're reporters from the city, working on a story about what's happening to you. From the city, huh? I could have sworn you were a local showing this city slicker how to walk on something other than a sidewalk. Sarah says, why, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And Ellen says, I know how to walk. Bob says, well, you look familiar. You were down here a few weeks ago, weren't you? And Ellen says, well, that's correct. I covered your livestock issue, and I'd love to expand that segment and try to bring you some serious aid here. Bob says, I don't know if we can do that. I made a deal with some fellas to stop running my mouth about all our misfortunes, or on all our misfortunes. And Sarah says, well, all we want to do is try to help. As far as anyone else is concerned, we're not even here right now. Bob looks thoughtfully between the two of you and nods. Let's go inside. I don't feel secure talking out here, Bob says. And you enter the barn with Bob and Ellen, noticing a young man pitching hay inside. Hey, Dad, who are these ladies? Reporters, Justin. They want to talk to us about all our troubles. Try to help, they claim. And Sarah says, I'm Sarah Gibson, and this is Ellen Thompson. And I think I speak for both of us when I say that I really appreciate your time. And Justin frowns. And he looks kind of like the guy from the bar. I was just noticing that. Just a little younger. Justin says, I don't mind taking a break. My muscles still aren't what they used to be. And Ellen says, and what do you mean by that? George Clooney is always so good in his roles. Steve's dad. This Farmer Bob man. Matt's dad. A+ work, Mr. Clooney. Yes. Justin says, well, I still cramp up something awful. Doctors say they think our groundwater may be poisoned. And you share a significant look with Ellen and go to make a note of that statement. And Bob looks shocked, and he says, hey, you said this would be off the record. Isn't that what "we're not even here right now" meant? And Sarah's thinking, well, they're still very skittish. I've got to convince them that we won't do any harm. Sarah says, well, you can trust me because, let's see, I have the right to protect my source. Local farmer sounds just as good to me as Morgenstern Farms, right, Helen? And Ellen smiles, absolutely! What's important is the information, not the source. We'll protect your identity. Bob says, well, what do you think, Justin? You feel comfortable talking to these people? He says, well, you keep our names out of it, and I'll bite at the bit to tell you all this mess. And Sarah says, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. And Justin kind of frowns a bit, and he's like, okay, where do I even begin? Our water quality started suffering a few months ago, and I think it's just now reached our private well. Bob says, my wife and I have been drinking and cooking with the purified water ever since what happened to Justin. We can't take any more chances. And Sarah says, well, of course. Can you pinpoint the source of the contamination? And he says, well, we have our suspicions. It's not the rain, or else it'd be everywhere. It started at the far reaches of our farm, near... And Bob and Justin share a troubled gaze. And Ellen says, near where? And Bob says, I don't know, ladies. You're clearly here with good intentions, but... And Justin says, you can't blame us for being worried. Things will just get worse for our family if we name names. And Sarah says, I can assure you, people will want to help. This is for the greater good. Worst case scenario, you can move. Oh, no way. We're not going to say that. People want to help. And I know you care about your farm and your health and justice, and so do a lot of other people. Ellen says, well, that's true. Outrage really inspires people. Can you imagine the funds pouring in? And Bob says, I don't know if more money is the answer. It helps, but what I really want is my farm back. Sarah says, people aren't just going to give you money. They're going to attack the guilty parties and make this an issue of national concern. I mean, they'll also give you money, but the exposure is really key for progress. And Justin frowns and he says, I didn't expect anyone to care. We've all got so many of our own struggles. And Ellen says, but your struggle affects the entire community. Northbridge would want to know. Justin says, well, that does make me feel better. Maybe we aren't alone in this after all, Dad. And Bob says, well, yeah, maybe. And Justin says, okay. The vegetation started to die at the edge of the farm, near where Cyclone laid a damn pipeline earlier this year. And Ellen says, oh, really? I had a sneaking suspicion that might be the case. And Bob says, and not long after that, men from some company called Oasis started swinging by here wanting to give us free money. Hush money. And Sarah says, interesting. So Oasis and Cyclone are definitely linked, even if it's not by Charlie Carmichael's leadership. And Justin says, you two know about Charlie Carmichael? And Bob says, Slimeball's not getting my vote, that's for sure. And Sarah says, well, we've been compiling a case, and soon it might be enough to actually bring to a federal agency who can protect you. And Ellen says, and give Charlie a swift kick in the rear. Sarah says, that's why we're here, for testimonials. Yes, but also for samples, pictures, invoices, and anything material. And Bob frowns a bit, and he says, see, now it seems like we're giving up our names again. Can't an anonymous testimony be enough? And Sarah's thinking, I've got to really convince them to double down with us. And Sarah says, in all honesty, let's see. Let's see. We need to make you to make this stick. How much can Charlie really hurt you? And you're letting them win. In all honesty, we need you to make this stick. You could always say that we trespassed for the sample. You could say anything to clear yourself of any implications. And Bob smiles. He says, well, that does make it a little easier to say yes. No contracts, no footage, just a little dirt. And Ellen says, just a little dirt. A crumb, really. And Bob says, and that'll help you seal the deal against Cycron? And Sarah says, well, I'm sure they're smothering any reports on their own workers make, but they cannot control us, and we'll take this story wide. And Ellen says, with some poisoned soil in the town records for all these random projects funded by Oasis, I think it'll be obvious what's going on here. And Bob says, well, I reckon there's not much reason to stick around in here any longer after you ladies. And as you turn to head out of the barn, Justin clears his throat. Justin says, actually, I wasn't going to say this, but hell, I trust you. While I was upstairs a few days ago, supposedly on bed rest, I snapped a picture of the guy from Oasis when he came with his check. Sarah says, you did? And you'll let us see it? Ellen says, that truly is more than I could have hoped for. And Justin opens the gallery on his phone and shows you the picture, and you gasp. Oh my gosh! It's Mike Chow! Mike Chow? The CEO of Cycron? One old friend of Charlie's, owner of an energy company. I should have seen it sooner. Oasis is a shell company for hush money and bribes. Ellen says, I think we've got our network now. Let's go get that sample and bring all this to light. And together the four of you step back out of the barn and into the afternoon sun. Yeah, that was pretty deep. Outside, Bob and Justin lead you to the ground near the pipeline. Sarah says, oh, how horrible. I'm so sorry, sir. And Bob says, no need to be sorry. You came here trying your damnedest to help. Chow is the one who should be sorry. Good point. Well, make him sorry, Sarah says. And you stoop with Ellen and collect several tablespoons of soil into plastic pouches. And Sarah says, this is exactly why I got into journalism, you know. I really feel like the story matters. And Ellen says, me too. And Bob says, well, yes, thank you. I'm eager for the day I can say this is all behind us. Justice says, the sooner the better. The farm's been in bad shape for months now, and I don't know how much longer she can hold on. Bob says, hell, I wouldn't be surprised if that Chow character just decided to make an offer on the land to get us out of here. Sarah says again, I am really sorry this is happening to you. Is there anything we can do to help? And Ellen says, after all you've done for us. Bob says, I don't know. I'm not sure if soil rehab is really one of your skill sets. And Sarah says, well, that's true, but we have other valuable insights, considering we both work in the media. And Ellen says, well, maybe we could help you produce an advertisement for free. Justice says, that might just be the kick in the pants the world needs to start paying more attention to Morgenstern Farms. Bob smiles and he says, a commercial for Morgenstern Farms. Imagine that. What's next? A soap opera starring our cows and chickens? And Sarah laughs. And she says, okay, I would totally watch that. Ellen says, well, what do you say, Sarah? I did bring video equipment in case we needed it. Do we want to help save the farm? I think we want to help save the farm. Let's shoot a commercial! Oh, that's great, Bob says. I know just the place. Come with me. You arrive at a field of wildflowers, and Justin fetches a cow and her calf from behind a nearby fence. Mrrr, the cow says, and the calf, me, or meh, was what it said. And Sarah says, oh man, I wish I still had my powers. And Ellen said, excuse me? And Sarah says, I wish I still had power in my phone so that I could post this. Look how cute! And Ellen says, I'm normally not a big fan of animals who poop freely and are surrounded by flies, but yeah, cute. And Justice says, our farm isn't just produce. We take good care of happy, free-range animals, and I'd love to showcase that. This lovely cow is Lou Ann, her little boy's duty. Duty? I love him! Bob says, we've got the beautiful landscape, the cute animals, and the fresh food. Now you just tell us what to do with it. Sarah says, well, the first thing we need to figure out is your brand. And Bob says, well, I don't smoke. Sarah says, no, your style. Like, how you want consumers to see you. Do you want to use straight numbers or appeal to emotions? And Justice says, oh yeah, I've always loved those goofy commercials that make you think a little. And Bob says, well, what do you think, Ms. Gibson? You're the professional here. And Sarah says, your brand should be, let's see, factual and simple, feel good and home style, goofy and smart. Last one, no. So, factual and simple, feel good and home style. I think I'm going to go with feel good and home style. The ads that really stay with viewers for a long time are the ones that make them emotional. Do you have any kind of catchy slogan we can throw under a logo? And Bob says, well, we've been going with eggs, tomatoes, milk, apples, and butter. They're our major exports. That sounds like a gross omelet. Okay, we need a full revamp. And Bob says, well, why don't you give me your best idea then? I'll take it. Our motto is field to table. Oh yeah, Justice says field to table. Puts me in the mood for a hearty, balanced breakfast. And Sarah says, thanks, it just came to me. Now for something more emotional, maybe we should talk about the importance of a home-cooked meal for keeping the family close. Oh, that's what you took the first time? The option that I didn't? You took the option I didn't take? The last one? Sarah says, with fresh ingredients you can always find at Morgenstern's. She said, and he says, that's mighty sweet, Ms. Gibson, and I have to say that I agree. And Sarah says, well, I think a nice zoom on the animals would be perfect for the next part. Ellen? Ellen says, no, I'm staying right here. I'm not riding a sheep or climbing a haystack or whatever else you're planning. These are my favorite shoes. And Sarah says, well, I magically figured that out, actually. Will you handle the camera? And Sarah says, oh, that, sure. Oh, you took the same as me. Yeah. It just seemed like it made the most sense. And Ellen props the camera on her shoulder and follows your direction for the commercial. And you stroke Luann's head to help her relax for her shot. Sarah says, who's a pretty girl? Oh, so pretty, look at you. And Luann makes noises. And Bob says, hey, she's really taken with you. Come to think of it, you've got one of those faces people tend to trust, don't you? And Sarah says, I do? And Ellen says, counterpoint. She's actually so cute it circles back around to annoying. Sarah says, aw, thanks, Ellen. Justice says, I've got to agree with my dad, Ms. Gibson. You'd make a great spokesmodel. Want to get into the shot with Luann and Duty? And Sarah says, what, you want me to kneel in the field of flowers and pet your baby cow for free? Yes, please. You crouch down with Luann and Duty, scratching their snouts and making kissy faces at them. Sarah says, Morgenstern Farms, field to table. And the animals make sounds. And Ellen says, God, this is too cute. I'm cutting the feed. And Bob says, that was great. How about one more shot to feature one of our goods? Any ideas? Let's take the camera and, let's see, feature a product, pan around the property, get a close-up of our animals. I think feature a product. And Bob says, well, our butter's our best seller, and it's still as rich as pecan pie. Wanna try a spoonful of that? And Sarah says, or... Justice says, let me run up to the main house and grab a butter knife, a saucer, and a bagel. Sarah says, much better. Moments later, Justin returns, and Ellen readies the camera for the final shot. And It's a little tub of butter. She says, "Ooh, artisanal," and spreads it on her bagel. And you take a bite of the bagel and nearly melt. It's the most delicious butter you've ever eaten. And Sarah says, "Holy cow, Luann, you're really good at your job." And Ellen says, "Cut! I think we got plenty of usable footage here, everyone." Bob says, "Well, again, thank you both so much." And Justin says, "And good luck with those samples. I'll keep my eye on this story." And Ellen says, "You'd better." Sarah says, "We couldn't have done it without you." Afterward, you and Ellen bump along the road back to Northbridge, and you feel a vibration from your phone and glance down at the screen. And Jaime texts, "See, Jaime cares. He texts us. And Sarah says, "Well, yeah, I'm fine. Why?" Jaime says, "I'm so sorry about the other night, Sarah." And she says, "Well, thank God. I'm sorry, too. I hate the way we left things." And Jaime texts back, "I just went by your place and it was dark and empty. Got me spooked. I guess I'm worried about you, is what I meant to say." Sarah says, "You're not still mad at me?" Jaime says, "I was never mad at you, just upset and confused and a little worried. Now, where are you?" "A little espionage, that's all. You know how it is." Jaime says, "Seriously, don't play with me right now." And Sarah says, "LOL," or texts back, "LOL. I went out of town for a story, you'll see. Top secret right now, though." And Jaime says, "You're being awfully mysterious." And Sarah's LOLs again and says, "Yep, winky face." And Jaime says, "Can I see you? Can we talk?" Sarah says, "Talk Monday when I get back?" Jaime says, "Yes, please stay safe." And Sarah says, "I will." Or texts, "I will." You put your phone away with a little smirk, and Ellen glances over at you. Ellen says, "Well, well, don't you look like the cat who ate the canary. Did you just find a promo code for more sensible shoes?" And you shrug. Sarah says, "Well, somebody was worried about me, that's all." And Ellen says, "Well, that's sweet. They must not know you very well yet, huh?" And Sarah says, "Well, what's that supposed to mean? Am I not deserving of worry?" And Ellen says, "Hey, relax. I didn't mean it like that. I'm just trying to say that I think you're a very capable woman, actually. And I wouldn't have come to you with this story if I didn't believe that. And you proved it to me on this road trip, too." Sarah says, "Oh, well, thank you." Ellen says, "No need. I just call it like I see it." And Sarah says, "Well, if we're being honest here, I think you're also, a total warrior queen." And Ellen says, "Oh, I do know. I didn't know you agreed, though." And Sarah says, "Well, yeah, actually, before I became your nemesis, I was definitely a fangirl." And Ellen says, "That's cute. After you became my nemesis, I became your fangirl." Let's see, I think I remember texting with Anna in that scene, so it may depend on romance points. Oh, okay. And Sarah says, "Yeah, you and everybody else." Ellen says, "Ha! Aren't we full of ourselves?" Sarah says, "Boy, if Ellen Thompson is chastising me for having too much ego, I'd better chill out, huh?" And Ellen laughs loudly and nods. "Fair." After you ride in silence for a while longer, Ellen yawns loudly and gestures to an exit coming up on your right. And Ellen says, "Hey, how are you feeling? I'm sort of exhausted, and I've got enough cash for a single bedroom at Hotel Deluxe." And Sarah says, "You can afford Hotel Deluxe?" And Ellen says, I can only afford a single bed there, but I'm not downgrading from the best. I have standards." And Sarah says, "So your standard is a 5-star hotel?" Ellen says, "Was just how I was raised." Sarah says, "I should have known you were spoiled rotten." Ellen says, "I wasn't actually. Long story. Maybe someday, if you're lucky, I'll tell it to you, but for now, I'm tired. And we could share the bed, or I'll unroll my sleeping bag on the couch and make it a legitimate slumber party. Your call." Let's see, this is your chance to finally get to know Ellen and to even have an intimate moment together. No? Wow, Ellen, seriously? We'd kill each other. Ellen says, I mean, you might be right. I thought it was worth the risk, though. Might even be fun. And Sarah says, how about this? If you're tired, pull over. Jump in the back and get some sleep. I'll take over. Ellen says, really? That's generous of you, Gibson. I appreciate it. Sarah says, hey, say no more. I've got the energy to get us back to Northbridge. And Ellen pulls over, and you climb into the driver's seat, finishing off the last leg of the road trip while she naps in the back. And you return home in the morning, eager to kick off your shoes, soak in the bath, and get back to regular life when there's a knock at the door. And Sarah says, please tell me it's my baby. You took the scene but didn't sleep with her. And Anna says, it's your baby. And you throw open the apartment door with a happy gasp. And Sarah says, I missed you so much. And Glory goes, meow. Anna says, she missed you too, clearly. And Anna says, I didn't think she was capable of even admitting to herself that she might miss me. And Anna says, well, it took her a day or so to crack, but I noticed the difference. Droopy tail, looking at the door. She missed you. Glory, meow. Sounds like my cat when we leave. It's just a lot of meow meow. And you gather Glory into your arms and cuddle your face against her fur. And Sarah frowns a bit and she goes, aw, baby, Mama's never gonna leave you again. Anna stays over for a late lunch and you sit together in the den, filling her in on your weekend. You missed the dog? At work on Monday, Alec pulls you aside as you walk in. And Alec just looks very neutral. And he's like, Sarah, I need to talk to you for a minute. And Sarah says, what did I do? I just got here. Alex starts smiling. Cool your jets. You're not in trouble. I've got good news. And Sarah says, I'll reserve judgment on that. What's up? Alex says, Charlie Carmichael, for future governor of our great state, requested you to moderate his debate with Merriweather. And Sarah says, me? In front of all those cameras? Going to the entire state? And Alex says, it's going to be a ratings bonanza. Sarah says, it is the perfect storm, isn't it? And that was the end of chapter 12.